Welcome, everybody, to your new favorite Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Sean, and I'm here, as always, with Mike.
It me.
Hey, what's up?
What it do?
What it do? This is episode 2 of our still-to-be-named at a later date Detroit Pistons podcast, which is probably going to start being weekly now. Hopefully. We said it might be gamely next time. That's definitely not going to happen. But weekly, we're going to try to shoot for weekly. We should have no problem doing that. But yeah, it's available right here on YouTube. And as of right now, all podcast services. So if you got your Apple, your Apples, your Googles, your SoundClouds, you can just download it on anything and everything where you can find podcasts. I got that hooked up. Unfortunately, though, I use it all through SoundCloud free because I'm too poor to do $15 a month to pay for the pro SoundCloud. So we can only have 2 or 3 episodes up at a time. I think the upload limit is like 180 minutes for free. So you'll probably only be able to find a few episodes there at a time. If this really takes off, I would have no problem paying for that so we can have the whole library on there. But the entire library is definitely going to be on youtube.com/MediaMiller. But if you're just more into listening to them and not watching them, they'll be on SoundCloud, iTunes, all that good stuff, Google Play. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's just get right into it. It's enough housekeeping. We started off this podcast on a really great note, I would say, with Blake Griffin coming in and the Pistons being 5-0. Mm-hmm. And since then, we are now at the tail end of the All-Star break. We are recording this on February 22nd, so the day before the Celtics game. And they went, I believe, they lost 3 of 4, I think, going into the All-Star break, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So we won against and even that win, like we beat the Hawks 104-98. Even that win was like hardly a win. We had a great third quarter, and that was about it.
They had a couple starters out that game anyways, so it didn't really feel like a win.
Right. Reggie Jackson is still out. So, again, we have that. But what do you think, like, just going forward and looking back a little bit, what do you think has just been going wrong with these past 4 games? Like, what have you been seeing that, like, while you're watching these games, are you thinking, like, we're not doing this right, or we're not doing this right, or we're doing too much of this? Like, what's going on up there?
I'm going to say offensively, I think that Stan Van Gundy has a lot to figure out, which I'm glad to hear that he spent a bunch of time on All-Star break looking at film and how to utilize Blake Griffin, because I think that when he came in, we had only ample amount of time to figure out how to change our offense because he's not interchangeable from Tobias. He's a completely different player. So I think it was a big learning curve, and I think everyone's excited to play with him, and I think that's not the problem, but I think just like the X's and O's, the spacing, I think that when we come off of All-Star break, we'll be using Blake a lot more with pick and rolls with Andre, and everyone else is going to be more of a spot-up shooter. And I think our offense is going to be a little bit different than it has been, but I think Van Gundy was just trying to, put him in as best as he could, as fast as he could, and Blake Griffin had to, it's hard as a player to completely, like, learn a new offense, play with all these new players. He was playing in LA, and he was comfortable there. He played there for, I think, 9 years, and
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's a learning curve, like I said. But on defensively, I think that we have a lot of room to improve. Just our rotations, regarding the pick and roll. I don't know. Just when I watch the game, it's just stuff that you see that, like, any college coach or high school coach could see it and be like, oh, like, what are they doing here? It might be effort sometimes. It might not just be like understanding how to play within each other. Defensively is half the game. So I don't know. It's both sides of the ball. They definitely need to fix like what they're doing. And I know Van Gundy is huge on defense, and he's always been. In every interview, he's always talked about, I'm defensive-minded coach and all of this. But I think they've struggled on defense, and I don't know if it's their talent or what, but, at the very least, you should be a good defensive team, even if you're not the most talented team, because I feel like defense is mainly just, effort and, having communication, and knowing the right way you're going to guard certain plays and certain screens and certain pick and rolls and all that. So I'm hoping that they figure it out in these last 25 games. They definitely have to play their best basketball, and hopefully Reggie Jackson can come in and, you know, be a spot up shooter and space the floor. But they do have some work to do. So
yeah, definitely. Sticking with your defense, these are the point totals that they've given up over the past few games. So the last game, the win against the Hawks, they gave up 98. But before that, they gave up 118, 118 again, 108, 106, 91 against the Blazers, which that's pretty good. But then 107, 102, 114, and 121. So our past, 10 games, they've given up 100 points on 8 of them. So you can't be dropping 100, you can't be giving up 100 points every night. I know the league is changed and it's more offensive these days, but still, you don't want to see 100 points every night, especially when you yourself is struggling to put up 100 points.
Exactly.
So obviously, but that just really has me worried going into the Celtics game tomorrow night, or when you're listening to this, possibly tonight. It's just the Celtics are a great team. Obviously, they're second place in the East. They've been first place in the East for most of the season. And I can just see, I can really see Kyrie coming in and just tearing us up, especially without our starting point guard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely it's going to be a test for us. Celtics, Brad Stevens, I like the way he coaches. He's a great defensive-minded coach. So, I mean, he has all those young guys, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kyrie, and then they have some pieces, off the bench, and they've always been a team that plays, with passion on defense. They're not an easy team to score on, and that's why I think they've been so successful. And then you have Kyrie on offense. That guy's almost an automatic walking bucket. Even when we had Avery Bradley, I mean, it's hard to have anyone that can actually stop him. You just try to contain him as best you can, and don't let anyone else beat you. But I don't know. It's definitely going to be a good test to see how our new offense is running and see if they're playing with energy. We still need everyone to, Reggie Bullock. He's been on fire lately since the Blake Griffin trade, shooting above 50%. He needs to keep playing well. We need our bench to come off and play strong. And without Reggie Jackson, we definitely need Ish to keep playing strong. But it's such a luxury to have him come off the bench when Reggie Jackson's starting, and then we have Ish Smith with the fast pace, transition play, moving the ball. He's very unselfish. I love Ish, but defensively he can be a liability sometimes. He is a better defender than people think, but because he does bring the effort and he contests shots. But I mean, you can't argue the size. He's only 6 foot tall, so it definitely hurts us against the stars in the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely does, especially what we said with Kyrie coming in. And it's just going to see the most playing time. I don't think they're going to rotate. I don't think they're going to have Bullock defend him. Unless it was really bad at the start. I don't think they'll switch and have Bullock or whoever is on shooting guard defend him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jameer Nelson is definitely more of an offensive player than a defensive player.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he's bad on defense. How have you... I want to shift gears a little bit. I like what I see. I know it's because we've lost more games than won with Nelson and Ennis, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing from these two guys, especially from Jameer Nelson. I really like how Jameer plays. I know he's known for having a good 3-point shot, but I just watching him specifically, he does a good job of moving around the floor, and I've seen him where he can drive really well, but then I don't know. I'm stumbling with my words, but I just feel like he's always looking for the open guy to where I can see him cut through and get into the lane, but then he's still very aware of everything that's happening around him and can dish it off to somebody like a cutting Blake Griffin or Bullock who's going out to the 3-point line or something. I just feel like he's been doing a good job of spacing the floor really well and moving with the ball like a point guard should be able to.
Yeah, I agree. I like Jameer Nelson. I like the way he carries himself. He's very calm and collected, and you can tell that he's a vet in the league.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And it shows on the court and off the court. The way he handles himself, he's a leader, and he just kind of keeps everyone composed. He'll come off a pick and roll or a screen, and he drives to pass to create for other people. He's more of a creator than, he's not really looking to score too much, but he can hit that open shot. The only thing that scares me about him is on defense. I mean, you can tell the years are wearing and tearing on him, and a lot of the younger guards are kind of just blowing right past him from what I've seen so far. So
yeah, I can agree with that.
That part kind of scares me defensively, but offensively, I mean, he knows what he's doing, and then you're not going to have to worry about the X's and O's, or he's going to make the right plays. It's not like you're playing a G leaguer like Dwight Bikes, even though Bikes did have a great run with us, but I think Jameer just kind of brings that, veteran type play where you don't have to coach him up. He's going to do what he's going to do, and he's going to make the right play. I think that's the main reason Stan Van brought him in, is because he's just happy that he can have someone he can just rely on while Reggie's out. And I mean, it's going to be kind of sad that Jameer won't be able to play as much once Reggie's back, but I agree with the move to bring him in right now because, bearing injury, you want to have that insurance. So, yeah, it's exciting. And then James Ennis, I like what he can bring. He brings a lengthy, athletic guard that can, score, run the floor, hit the open three, and I think it's a way better use of our roster spot rather than having the 75 bigs we had beforehand.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I like James Ennis, and I like what he's been doing so far. So, I think that those are the right pieces to have if we do somehow get in the playoffs. I'm hoping we do, and we can make a little run, and I think those players will be nice to have on the bench.
Yeah, I agree completely. So I guess now the stat that I'm just looking at a stat line right now that it's kind of like a hard change in direction. But one thing that was talked about with Blake Griffin a lot coming into the Pistons is he's known as like a highlight reel player, obviously a superstar in the league. Mm-hmm. But people were talking about how he's really improved his shot. And I've been looking through his three-point shooting. I know we talked about this a little bit in the past, not on the podcast, but Blake Griffin's shooting has been kind of infuriating me over the past few games. Like, I know he's definitely developed the shot, and he's a good three-point shooter, but I just feel like – so I'm going to go over the stats here. Against the Hawks, he was 4 for 7. That's good. Pelicans, 1 for 6. Hawks, the first game, 3 for 10. Clippers, 1 for 7. Nets, 1 for 5. Blazers, 3 for 7. Heat, 1 for 6. And then Grizzlies, 1 for 3. So his three, I think he's shooting 29.4% from 3, which when you put it in a percentage like that, 29 isn't terrible. But there's just like 3 for 10, 1 for 6, 1 for 7. I don't know. I feel like a lot of shots that he puts up is just like, they're kind of questionable. Like, not that he's a bad shooter, obviously, but like sometimes he'll just have the ball at the 3, kind of like hesitate, jab step forward, hesitate again, and then instead of just like finding a play or trying to make a play out of it, he'll just like shoot a 3 and miss it way more times than not. Mm-hmm. So that's been really frustrating. And I think one of those games, I don't remember, it might have been against the Hawks, but even like when he went 3 for 10, I think that was the game where one of those 3 that he made was just like a garbage 3 at the end that didn't even matter, that he like banked in from deep or something. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. So that's just been kind of frustrating. I want to see more. I feel like he's played with us for 8 games, and I feel like he's dunked it like 3 times. I don't know. Like,
yeah, I think defenses are keying in on him a lot, especially in the half court. Whenever he gets a post-up touch, they're just all sinking in on him because they know how great of a player he is. And I don't know, maybe we just don't have the threats out there. I don't know. I've been kind of questioning the lineups that Van Gundy has because it's kind of tough. Because when you have Blake and Drummond out there, it's kind of clogs up the lane, and you can't really do the post-up game with Blake Griffin and Drummond in. If you're going to have both of those in, I feel like running the pick and roll with both of them will open up a lot more than just posting, because Drummond's not a threat outside of 6 feet. So
right.
They're just Drummond's man's gonna help off, but not enough to where Blake Griffin can throw him the little oop like he did to DeAndre for those years. And then we need the spot up shooters to space out. And then I think it kind of gets frustrating for Blake, because he knows that as soon as he touches the ball anywhere near the paint, he's getting double and triple teamed.
Oh,
So when he gets a little bit of space from 3, he's just like, I'm just about to jack this because he knows he can make it. But I think that if he started to trust the offense a little bit more, and I think once Stan Van Gundy trusts the offense and they start, I think this break was like the perfect break for him, so they can kind of figure things out. And I think you might see less of that from Blake coming up in the next, part of the season, so the end of it. So I'm hoping that they get that fixed, and then it won't be so frustrating to watch him, just jack contested threes and just whenever. And it's not even within the flow of the game. That's like the most frustrating part.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely agree with the All-Star game, or with the All-Star break being like coming at a great time. It just sucks that we're playing Boston like coming out of it, because I really hope that they use this extra week. Like, obviously I know they took time off and like went and had fun or spent time with their families, but hopefully these last few days they've been really getting things together. And like, I hope we see a big difference at least coming into is there like a heartbeat something going?
Oh yeah, downstairs.
Oh. Okay. But yeah, I've got like a beat behind me. Sorry. But anyway, I lost my train. Oh, but like, yeah, so hopefully we can at least see those changes, like even if I'm not necessarily expecting a win tomorrow, but yeah, like hopefully we can at least see these things coming together and that they're making improvements and that they're trying, because I don't think that the lack of effort is an issue. Like especially since we got Blake, it's they seem really revigorated. They seem like a team that wants to win. It just hasn't exactly worked out that well. And especially during that 5-game winning streak, they looked like they were on top of the world. So Stanley Johnson's really stepped it up. Reggie Bullock has really stepped it up. We've just been having we just had a rough week, basically, with losing 3 out of 4. And yeah, just hopefully they can turn it around. One thing I don't know. This might have just been because I personally was thinking about it too much. But Blake Griffin, there was a point in the Hawks game, the last game, where we got the win, where Blake had like 10 points, 12 assists, or he had 13 points, 12 assists, or 12 rebounds and 9 assists. And I felt like there was a long stretch in the fourth quarter where they were trying way too hard to get Blake a triple double, and I think that that, along with them playing the bench, because they went up by a lot after the third quarter, and then that's when the Hawks like really started to turn it around. I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But like the announcers brought it up that he was 1 assist away from a triple double, and it was obvious that he was like passing way more. Or he would like, I don't know. That was like part of it, and that was kind of frustrating. But I see why you'd want to get a triple double, obviously. But that, I felt like that hurt us more than it should have. Like going against the Hawks, like we had a huge lead. We put the bench in. Blake was still out there though, trying to get his triple double, and then but then at the end when we had to turn it on, we did, and ended up winning by a decent margin. So I don't know. That was just something else I wanted to point out. It's probably been forever since the Pistons had a triple double.
Yeah, we got lucky with that one because we were up by like 30 plus at one point, and then we ended up only winning the game by 6. So
yeah, like a lot of that was just like what you were talking about earlier with the rotations and how our bench guys like Bikes even got out there and played for a little bit, and it was just like going downhill so much. Like it was cool to see him out there again, but like we gave up a 30-point lead, so a 30-plus point lead.
Yeah, that can't happen to a bottom feeder team in the NBA. You just gotta close those games out, because if we end up losing that game, that's that just snatches the soul out of a team that went 5-0 and then goes 0-4 into a break. So we got lucky that we beat that team. I really think that we had the other 3 games were very winnable, but we didn't show up for most of them. So it was disappointing, but I'm glad that we ended up on a win, and hopefully we can build on it and make a push. We're only a game and a half out of 8th, I believe, so
Yep.
It's definitely doable. If we get on a hot streak, it's doable to even get maybe to the 4th seed. That would be if we were on fire, but that's only 5 games out with 25 left, so it's possible. So
yeah, it's very doable. So, and for the most part, I think as of right now, how it stands, I'd definitely rather play the Raptors than the Celtics in the first round of the playoffs. So if if it stays how it is, or if the Pistons can like squeak into 8th place, then or squeeze into 8th place, then that'd be great. But like being able to move up the ladder and maybe I think the Cavs are in 3rd place, and then so if we can get like a 5th seed and play the 4th seed, like I don't know. I'm not. The Celtics are like the only team that I'm like scared to play, I guess, in the finals. I mean, in the first round, I don't know. It's hard in a season like this to expect an NBA Finals, obviously. So, but at least getting through the first round, I think, would be respectable. So,
yeah, there's definitely the Celtics would be probably the biggest threat, but you definitely don't want to see LeBron in the playoffs because that's when they turn it on. And the whole season, you might think that they're not as great. They're not a number 1 seed, but they kind of are just cruising through it. And once playoffs comes on, then I don't know what happens. But I feel like LeBron just takes over. If he has to score 40 a night, then he will. If he has to get a triple-double, he will. Like, he just does whatever it takes, and he gets the most out of his teammates. But anyone else in the East, Raptors are beatable, even though they're the number 1 seed. Wizards are beatable without John Wall. Pacers, Bucks, Sixers, Heat. I mean, I'm not too worried about any other team but the Cavs and Celtics. If we get to face any other team, even the Cavs and Celtics, I don't know, something about the Pistons when they played the Cavs a couple years ago in the first round, even though they got swept, they battled them every game, and they kept talking about how that was the Cavs' hardest series until the finals. It just kind of showed me that the Pistons are just a team that can battle anyone. We beat the Warriors this year, we beat the Celtics, so
we beat the Thunder.
We beat the Cavs, so I don't know. I just think that we're a team that's capable of matching up well with any team if we come to play.
Yep, I agree. But yeah, and going back to what you're saying about LeBron, like he always seems to sweep the first round of the playoffs too. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely add them to my list of teams I don't want to see in the first round. But I agree that they do come to play. The next few games, we've got the Celtics, we got the Hornets, the Raptors, so we'll be able to see soon how we match up against the Raptors, and then the Bucks on Wednesday, which I'll be at that game personally, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Nice.
And then Magic, Heat, Cavs, Raptors again, so we've got a lot of big-time Eastern Conference games coming up quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy at all, especially with Ron Beard confirming on Twitter that Reggie Jackson is cleared to do light running, but he's still a couple weeks from return. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough. He's gonna come back with let's see, there's 25 games left, so he's going to come back with less than 20 games to play. We're going to have to make a great run when he comes back. We're going to have to get back to beginning season form, like the game he comes back.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a smooth transition. And I know a lot of fans are very upset with Reggie Jackson's return, feeling like it's been a while. But if you understand what a grade 3 sprain is, it's probably the worst ankle sprain you could possibly get. I got a grade 2 ankle sprain while I played in college, and I couldn't walk for 3 months. So imagine a grade 3 where everything in your ankle is completely torn. I mean, it's a long healing process, and to think that he's already running and doing all this, rehab and shooting already is still impressive to me, So I'm hoping that he comes back better than ever. It's frustrating to see Reggie, and it's sad to see Reggie get hurt almost every year, but I don't know. When he is healthy, I feel like we're a solid team, and I think that he can really help us. He can bring a weapon to scare teams and create mismatches and use those pick and rolls to open up offense and for other players on the team and kind of just make other people better. So I'm excited for him to get back.
Yeah, same. I just hope they don't rush it. I hope he's not in the mentality that he needs to come back and save the team or something. Like if he's not 100% ready, he shouldn't go and risk ruining his ankle for his career. Mm-hmm. So
I agree.
Because what you said, grade 3 is no joke. So obviously the Pistons doctors know what they're doing. He knows how his ankle feels. I just hope that they don't rush it. And if he has to take an extra week, then so be it.
Mm-hmm. I'm just hoping that we're in striking distance for the playoffs, or at least in a spot by the time he comes back. I don't want to be, digging a hole while he's out and then expect us to make, a 6-0 run at the end of the season. I'm hoping that we're already in a slot in I want to be clinched up before the last week. That'd be nice to be, because we're 3.5 games above the 10th seed, so it looks like we're just going to be battling, the top. It's going to be a 4 through 9 race for the last 25 games, it looks like.
Yep. And we close out against the Mavericks, the 76ers, the Nets, the Knicks, the Wizards, and the Lakers, our last 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's right. Yep. Those are our last 6 games. So, good mix of easy. All those games seem winnable for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know.
Even though the Sixers have had our number, but we should beat them with we have a different look with Griffin, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's a good time to be a Pistons fan. We got a star, and I'm hoping that this is just the start of a playoff run, and I hope we if we get in the playoffs, I just remember watching them play the Cavs, how exciting it was. Jumping off my couch and screaming, so happy to see them. They had a 7-year drought, I think it was, and I'm just hoping they can get back to that place. So
yeah, playoff basketball is amazing. I really want to just see Little Caesars Arena start to fill up again, or not again, but fill up finally for the first time, like the Palace used to be. And just getting back to the atmosphere. I'm not big on college sports at all, but I watched a little bit of a college basketball game a few days ago, and just the atmosphere in those stadiums is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
College atmospheres are just absolute madness, and it just playoffs feeling in any sport is just awesome. So I just really want to get back to that, even if it's just for a series for 1 year. Then next year we can build on that and just keep going. So.
Yep. So looks like they have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 games until next Friday, which should be our next podcast. So hopefully we're coming back with a 1, 2, 3, 4 win streak, 4-0 win streak, and then that Friday they play the Magic. So well, I'm hoping for the best.
Yep. Same. So yeah, I guess that's basically the podcast for this week. As Mike just hinted at, this one is posting February 23rd. That's a Friday. I'm going to try to post them. We're still kind of, obviously this is just episode 2, so we're still new at this. We're going to try to hit it weekly, and I'm going to try to stick to a good schedule for you guys so you can expect something and look forward to something, and that'll help motivate us to get it so on schedule and on task. So I'm going to try to post these every single Friday at noon Eastern time. Of course, Eastern time.
Sounds good.
Yep. So whether or not there was just a game that night or the game coming into it, just whatever the week is looking like, you should be able to expect our soon-to-be-named Pistons podcast every single week, wherever podcasts are listened to. So... of course, that would be youtube.com/Media Miller, or just search Media Miller on SoundCloud, iTunes, all that good stuff. And of course, check Mike out on his YouTube channel. There's a link in the description here. It's just search MVen Gaming on YouTube, and you'll find all of his great stuff there. So, any final thoughts before we head out?
Let's get this win streak started.
Let's get it. Thank you very much, you beautiful listeners, for listening. And until next time, we're out.
Peace.